to fight for the rights of transgender and sexual minorities. It was supported by the Tata Trust and also stepped to the married life with Mr. Vasudev, who is from Magadi and belongs to the lower caste Madiwala community. So the 20th January, the year of 2017, which was an interreligious marriage, performed first time globally for the trans women and adopted a baby. The baby recently through legally and continue her fight for social acceptance. This ionic development has happened due to the Congress government friendly policy. So, with this, I now invite Dr. Akkai to deliver her speech.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, Dr. Rajalakshmi, for that extensive welcome address. Now I invite Dr. Akkai Padmashali to deliver her keynote address on today's concept on business action to achieve gender equality in future decade. Ma'am, the forum is yours. Thank you. Uh, Ma'am, I hope you can hear us. I think the voice from your side is not audible. Please check your connectivity, ma'am. Your mic is unmuted, but we cannot hear you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. We can see as well as hear you.
Okay. But how it's not possible, yeah, on this thing? Wondering actually. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Srini. Thank you, Rajalakshmi, for this introduction. I wanted to give some amount of clarification, especially on the what do you say, like introduction part of it. My thing was about the Limca Award was for Bhagyada Lakshmi Baramma. Okay, it's not Bhagyada Lakshmi Bamma. And the organization I founded is called Vandede, which means a convergence organization. The Vandede is a Kannada word for convergence, actually. Yeah. And thank you so much for getting me here to speak about business and gender equality. And I also have my colleague called Miss Priya, who is the Karnataka's first transgender beautician. Okay. So welcome to you also, Priya. Yeah. Um, so I think when I was talking to Dr. Srini about what like exactly I should speak about, I think to begin with, I think we also have more than 100 participants today. I think no business or no society or no social status or no social sector or no political sector or no any sort of economical sector or any cultural sector, if you don't speak the whole issue of gender, I think profile remains as profile. But what happens to your daily life? What happens to your struggle? What happens to your challenge? As a person born a male and transformed to a female, the amount of social exclusion, the family's non-acceptance, the neighbors, your friends, everyone is rejected. And very few people who did not have a maturity to understand. And I'm talking about 25 years ago. Now I'm 33, 35 years approximately. When I realized I'm a feminine at the age of 8 years, I did not have a space to express my feminine character. But very few Um, Very few people inside my house who did not come forward to support what exactly I'm going through. Apart from that, faced enormous amount of violence in family and tried to attempt suicide twice to kill myself. And then I decided why I should die. I'm fine. And you and society is not fine. I think talking the basic principles of humanity and love and social justice has brought me here today to speak for what I stand and with so much of commitment and so much of responsibility. When I was a beggar and sex worker, what Ms. Rajalakshmi has mentioned in the profile reading, I think the amount of violence, the police brutality, or um, the social stigma or the social discrimination because of your profession, sex work and begging. Uh, I think I understand society has a problem or society has its own expectation from a very patriarchal powerhood or a dominance and a majoritarian perspective. If you ask what is majority and what is a minority, majority comes from a certain amount of class, certain amount of caste, certain amount of religion. The majoritarian concept which takes an amount of power to decide the minority section. And I refer majoritarian is an important context. Majority is important, minorities are utmost important, and the society where we live, especially when we're talking from a very gender movement perspective, I say that it is necessary that we all speak, you know, the the important context of majoritarian concept is against the wish and will of the genderhood people that we are living today. You know, with all of this, I want to say that journey of a transgender person in the streets, in sex work, in your family, in education, in the employment sector, in your marriage, in your adoption, in your inheritance, and many aspects of it, you are being socially excluded. But how do you talk about social inclusivity? Big challenge. Who supports you? Who accepts you? Who will come and speak to you, who says, yes, I'm here to talk whatever you feel today. But I think I and we as a community, we are facing that lack of awareness or lack of acceptance or lack of, self dignity accepted people. The second part of it is definitely yes, wasn't in the profession of sex work and begging was not so easy to be part of this. You were charged false cases, traumatized, stigmatized, discriminated. I agree with uh, the notion of society. The society has certain amount of barrier, and society is definitely a gift to all of us. I say why. In a society which decides for your identity, decides for your living, decides for your food, decides for your oneness, decides for your sexuality, whatever, I think that remains as the decision of the society. But I say, I say it's a space and it's an opportunity for us to fight back against the larger society for whatever you stand for today. When I tried to attempt suicide twice in my life, I couldn't die or I did not die. My second time of attempt, I questioned back why society is deciding like this. I am perfect and society is not perfect. I think taking that amount of enormous courage, determination to fight the larger battle was not so easy. You are alone, and seeing my members in the community who were most of us believe sex work and begging is the option for us. If you ask me what is your stand on sex work, I say sex work should be legalized. I say sex work should be legalized. You know, in that context, in that context, the legalization of sex work gives certain amount of dignity of a person who chooses to be a sex worker. There is no force. I am against force. I'm against trafficking. I'm against all sort of violence. But if you're willingly, consentfully doing your profession, my question to people who are objecting or rejecting, what's your business? You know, With all of this, my organization, Vandade, it means a Kannada word for convergence, means which we strongly speak the politics of dignity, politics of sexuality, and politics of gender identity. And working with the larger section, what Ms. Rajalakshmi has mentioned in my profile reading, which clearly said, that we are a convergence organization without compromising the basic core principles of human sexuality, gender, talking the aspect of very centric on sexual violence, domestic violence, the rights of sexuality and gender, working with the women's movement, child rights movement, youth movement, class, religious minorities movement, to build a safer environment, support and solidarity system across the country, basically to stand and see what exactly you are for. With that whole concept, not so easy to work with across movements and across sections. I think as one day organization, we were able to reach out to the many unreached population, to many communities. The second part, definitely yes, we were able to try to bring an enormous amount of reforms in context of the policy, advocacy, legal change, fighting back the Section 377, fighting back the Transgender Act, fighting back the notion of social stigma and discrimination from a very broader context. But now I say that the society is really, is really, what is saying? The society is really not prepared to accept the way you are today. But the agitation against all sort of violence shall continue. The agitation against what Ambedkar has said, organize, educate, organize, and agitate. I think the same core values of the constitution shall be practiced by the movement of the sexual minority community. How do I speak? I think we are, as a nation, we were supposed to be the so-called Mahan Maharashtra, or so-called Maharaj, or Maharashtra ki Bharat. But today, the Maharashtra Bharat has really destroyed many minorities, destroyed many communities, destroyed many people, destroyed many systems, destroyed and definitely brought shrinking spaces in the constitution. Why I say this? A journalist friend who whose writings were sharper than the knife. I think her pen played in politics. Her pen has made so much of shiver to people. And the clear indication of this, how she was assassinated on the 2017 September 5th, that's Gauri Lankesh in Bangalore. She was assassinated. And M.N. Kalburgi, the philosopher, was assassinated. Pansari was assassinated. I think with all of this, we all are seeing what is happening in the country. Be it the Hathras rape case, be it the Delhi gang rape case, be it the cow slaughter agitation, be it the anti-farmers, like acts, and be it the transgender act, be it the love jihad, conversation, be it the Sabarimala Ayyappa verdict, and be it, triple talaq judgments and again the act. I think the country is directly going in another part of the world that which we had really did not expect it what the Indian country is be or supposed to be. India stood for plurality. India stood for social justice. India is not a capital country and it cannot be a capital country. India should be a country of giving, sharing, accepting. This is what India I look for. If that doesn't have for India, then why is India for? India is not a communal holded country. India is a plurality with respecting people's religion, culture, caste, creed, sexuality, ethnicity, tradition, many aspects of it. But the unfortunate that the recent 6, 7 years ago, we are seeing what is happening in the country, and this is such a pathetic and sad situation. Coming back to the sex workers and transgender community, particularly, I think the debate and discussion about the minority is totally anti. And I don't see any sort of people who are living with the proudness or dignity. And if you ask me why, there is no space and the spaces are shut. In this context, many people, because of this COVID, the corona, COVID-19, it's called an undeclared health emergency that has occurred in the entire globe and has not left many common human beings. We lost many friends, including the transgender community, sex workers, for singer like S.P. Balasubramaniam, many activists, many political party leaders. I think we are many professors, many students, many I know elderly women, many I think many of our parents we all lost them. I think it's so saddening that that the world did not prepare or it was unprepared to fight or combat the COVID. In the process of losing people, I think the direct indication against transgender community, we struggle a lot because of your most vulnerable identity. There was an economical, unsustainability. There was a lack of food distribution. There was lack of medicines to get people. There was lack of all fundamental needs to be accessed, and people survived their lives without a support for between 5 to 6 months. And what was the government's role? The government role was nothing, just in talking and giving promises. My organization one day had challenged before the Honorable High Court of Karnataka to get its attention to implement and to seek some sort of interim judgments to definitely speak for people's fundamental needs to be accessed in the fundamental rights context. Finally, thanks to the Honorable High Court of Karnataka for delivering the judgment. I think we were able to collect the voices of the voiceless in the marginalized section of community to ensure that the members will definitely be accessing all sorts of fundamental needs in the same context. The other part is that um, how do we ensure to implement the Karnataka haiku from a very COVID perspective, because people are just living as what do you say um, was they were all fasting, did not had the proper shelter, did not have proper clothes to wear. I think we struggled a lot. We struggled a lot. And thanks to friends who came forefront to support, especially the sex workers and transgender community, because we were the most affected and definitely rise to fight against a larger battle. And apart from this, yes, if you talk about the concept of business and gender equality, I think what is business? The question comes back to all of us: what is business? And it's not a question of business. I think whatever we need to think from a very longer or like larger vision. I think we always need to understand what exactly is like is the vision about. I think the business is not like is now like is it like everything is a business now. If you buy safety pin, it's a business. If you buy chocolates, it's a business. If you buy your door, it's a business. Now there's a whole business for oxygen, not business for trees, business for political leaders, business for buying MLAs, business for buying your MPs. I think the country has sold. I think the world has sold in that context. I think the world is seen from a very business, money making, profit making point of view. If that's so, I think it's very difficult change that we shall be bringing, because of this. What do you say? Without understanding the depth concept of what exactly this business means, I think any business that you can choose or choice yourself, but the business shall be brought from a very gender perspective. And what is gender? The social construct norm says based on your sex that you're born with is a gender. If your penis born, the society says you should wear pant shirt. If a vagina born, the society says wear churidar, sari, pierce your nose, ears, and cover yourself. I think what is gender means to me, gender means to me something that what I recognize, what I accept for myself, irrelevant of your sex and gender, that's my gender. I think from this context, the business shall also be looked from that context. You know, the business shall include, and the business must include from a very local working class, the most vulnerable section. I remember what I remember what Gandhiji said, what Ambedkar said. Any business, any policy, any law, any act that if you're focusing the most vulnerable section, from that point of view, then your policy, your law, your act, and your business shall be will be a better understanding from that context to the next level. You got it? I think that's the thing about business. And gender equality is that you cannot really eradicate in a very fraction of second, fraction of minute, or fraction of months or years. I think the gender equality, I think across under the constitution we have been accepted equality before law, equality before constitution, equality before many other areas. But I think equality means to me something called, it has to come from your heart. It has to be practiced from within. It has to be brought from a very childhood perspective. I think in that role, in that participation, my parents, my siblings, my neighbors, my relatives, my teachers, my school, my administration, my society, my law, my judiciary, my executive, my law enforcement agencies, we all will play a vital role. It's not vital, it's a vital role that we all play. And that role is very, very much essential in this 21st century. In this 21st century, if we don't speak gender equality, I think whatever we do, that's just important. That will not fulfill the larger needs of humanity, that will not fulfill the larger issues of social justice, that will not resolve the problem, the issues of gender equality. With all of this, I want to really congratulate the organizers and especially Dr. Srini and like his team who work together to ensure that people to come together to see and listen what exactly is this. I think with this forum, I also want to say a message saying that if any of you will see any transgender people, uh, within your legitimacy of understanding or within your legitimacy of understanding or having lack of maturity about transgender or sex workers or lesbians, gay, bisexual, transgender, I think let's talk to them first and understand depth about what exactly they or we feel. You know, without we talking to people, I think education is not only about your computer, your Zoom calls, your meetings, your phone thing, etc., or your schools and colleges or your paper. Education is also about your physical meet, physically meeting and understanding the issues of the unspoken issues of society. That should definitely fulfill the need of the entire section that what we are talking today. With this, I want to congratulate the entire institution and the organizers and wishing you all the best for your future. I'm really open to have question answers if any so. Thank you, Dr. Srini, and thank you, Dr. Rajalakshmi Raji.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for that elaborate discussion on the topic. Let me start the discussion session with my own question regarding coming out as the transgender or lesbian or gay. What could possibly be done for youngsters who are yet to come out? And as a successful transgender activist, what is your opinion on suggestion to them for coming out successfully and boldly to their, especially to their parents first? Because we find
Um,
youngsters who are suffering still now in that dark area.
mm. That's an interesting question, but my question back to you is that is it necessary for us to come out and speak for what we are today? Be it lesbian, be it gay, be it pansexual, be it demisexual, be it transgender
Yeah.
man, be it transgender woman. Okay, I think I'm just putting question before all of you. Is it necessary that we need to come out? One. Second thing, I think the society has really not prepared to come out and accept for what you say today. See, in India, we also have a caste system. You know, the caste system under the law, it says no discrimination based on your caste, no discrimination based on your gender, no discrimination based on your religion, but we are still discriminating in the name of state, in the name of law, in the name of power. You know, how do we eradicate that? I think same way, this the gender issue is something very close to that and relates. Okay, the transgender section is something called totally breaking your stereotype and talking about your barrier against certain norms that the society is expecting. I think the families should definitely have the open mind. They should not be feel down to. They should not really feel guilt. I think many of us within the community we also have our like low self-esteem or less self-respect. I think as organization we are trying to build that self-respect and self-esteem. So without be accepting yourself, it's so difficult. Maybe some of you might have been seen my interaction with Obama, the former US president. you know I just told very clearly, I'm black beauty. If you don't accept your black beauty, it's so difficult for you to speak. So accept the way you are, accept the way what you say, and be confident for what you talk about. I think this goes based on experience, and you need to keep talking to people. I think society is the further far way ahead to definitely should speak and shall speak to accept and be for what you are today. I think many people did not have that space, opportunity, and this is 21st century, and it is possible for all of us to bring a like-minded society, and that is definitely possible. People like you who are sitting and listening, almost 98 people. Yeah, let's make the world better.
Sure, ma'am. Participants, if you have any queries to be discussed, you can openly discuss with the
Yeah.
speaker. You have a rare opportunity to discuss with such an eminent personality. You can discuss various aspects openly in this forum. And regarding the business opportunities, ma'am, is there any forum where we can connect transgenders to that business forum and platform? Are there any organization specifically does that job connecting them to businesses like MSME sectors like that?
See, the business is something called, what sort of business? Question number one. Second
For,
thing,
for, for
not
instance, yes, ma'am. 1 minute. For instance, I know a transgender woman who runs a catering business here at Coimbatore, and she has around 40 candidates with her who work as a team and caters to all the needs of festivals and events around the city. But the thing is, most of the opportunities provided to them, offers that get to them, is being stopped because for the fact that they are transgenders. So out of 10 offers, they get to receive only 1 or 2 offers. So I was like while discussing with them, this happened 2 years back, and they said this is one of the main reasons that we're not getting most of the offers. But really, the quality of the work they do is none less than what others do, regular people do. So if they could get into a business forum and if they could connect with people, much more people, they could get more opportunities. And is there any open forum for that?
yeah. See, now the corporate world is coming forward, you know, to speak about employment spaces, trainings, capacity building, opportunities, etc. And the business part, there are people who are indulging in the small scale business industry. And there are merchants, there are fruit sellers, there are people with different knowledge, and now people are also into the farming. I think that's a slowly social change process that is happening. If you talk about the depth of, see, if you talk about 100 people as a community, 10 or 15 might choose this so-called business-oriented profession. The rest of the 85% or to the 90% shall wanting to be in the profession of sex work and begging. Begging from a very traditional cultural perspective, one, the sex work, if we, I think when you know, I think I think I spoke about my stand on sex work legalization. If that's so, if a person who is talking about sex work should be legalized and that could be considered as a business, you know, what would be like your opinion on the business point of view on sex work? Because I'm selling my body, I receive money for it, and I pay sex to you. You got it? So I think the social taboo to speak the word even sex, the three-letter, one beautiful word. There is so much of taboo in society that they don't want to speak about sex. But talk about the situation of sex and work. See, sex we all does for pleasure, satisfaction, relaxation, for money, for enjoyment, for curiosity, for many, many aspects of it. But when it's come to work, how many of us sitting in a room, almost 100 people, does anyone choose that I want to be a sex worker? Big question to all of us. Maybe that society is not really mature enough, but few countries like um, um, like Brazil and in one state of the United States of America, which has legalized sex work, you know, and are slowly speaking about sex work legalization process. I'm just giving an example. All sort of business is fine, but you also need to alternatively build people's confidence to take up this business. You know, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful answer. Now it's time to conclude the session. I would request Dr. Deepika, Assistant Professor of Psychology Department, to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Yes, sir. My heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Dr. Akkai Padmashali, social activist for transgender and sexual minorities, and political activist for Indian National Congress, for her webinar on business action to achieve gender equality in the future decade. And I would like to thank the head of the Department of Psychology, Dr. Sajid Kumar, and head of the Department of Microbiology, Dr. Srinivasan, and head of the Department of IT, Dr. Juliana, and Ratnam College of Arts and Science for giving this wonderful opportunity. Last but not least, I like to express my sincere gratitude to our participants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the vote of thanks. I personally thank Dr. Akkai Padmashali for being here with us today virtually and connecting us, discussing various aspects of gender equality and business possibilities for the sexually minority people. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for being with us here today. And I thank all the participants for joining here today. The feedback link shall be posted on the chat box in a moment. Yeah, there you go. You can post the feedback to receive the certificate. And the platform will be open for another 5 minutes for you to fill the feedback. Thank you all. Looking forward to meet you all in the next session. Thank you.